Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Blocked Content. Today I get to talk about something that I love very, very dearly. It's Star Wars, and in particular, Star Wars Rogue One. This movie is actually the first standalone Star Wars movie, so I'm very excited what kind of new spin they will bring on the classic Star Wars formula. The official title for the film is Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It's, of course, an epic space opera directed by Gareth Edwards, who has previously done the Godzilla movie, the reboot with Bryan Cranston in it, which I actually liked very much. So I'm very curious to see how his, gritty handheld camera style will work with the Star Wars movie. It's gonna be something else. So we've got loads more information about the movie that came in because of Star Wars Celebration. And for those who don't know, it's kind of like a big Comic-Con kind of convention, but it's only centered around Star Wars. And they live stream it for people like me sitting at home and, not able to join them in the big halls. I saw every little piece of detail from all the panels, which even included a Han Solo, solo movie panel, and a panel for Star Wars Episode 8 coming out. But as expected, everyone's eyes were, of course, on Rogue One, because that movie is coming out this year, and this was the first chance fans got to learn a little bit more about the movie. Now, there was this very cool behind-the-scenes kind of documentary footage trailer that was actually released online for us to see as well. But what's also very interesting about these kind of movies that they always run a cool trailer for the audience that we don't get to see. But luckily, you're here at Blocked Content, so we're going to just tell you what happens in the trailer they released, only for the people at the Star Wars Celebration. If you don't want to be spoiled, please turn away now, because I'm going to, talk about what happens in the trailer. You're still here? Very good. So, the trailer opens with the Tatooine music from A New Hope, over, of course, the Lucasfilm logo. Then, a very young Jyn Erso, the main character from the movie played by Felicity Jones, she runs on a green planet with short grass. And this planet is still unnamed, unknown, so this at this point could be anything. This young girl, she runs towards the camera, and an Imperial-type shuttle ship flies by her. But then, the camera switches to an adult Jyn Erso, and she's running from evil people. "Every day we grow weaker," she says. A shot of captured rebel pilots being escorted by stormtroopers, the one we saw in the last trailer. It appears Cassian watches them pass by. "While they grow stronger," Jyn says. Death troopers march on the green world, showing the same shot we saw last trailer, but a little bit longer. "This is our chance," says Jyn. Shot of Mon Mothma at a war console we saw last trailer, followed by Cassian crossing his arms like in the last trailer. The rebels running through the jungle Vietnam style. Lots of tall trees. Very cool. This is imagery we haven't really seen in Star Wars before. "To make a real difference," Jyn says. Stormtroopers walking in the water, like the EWPs. This is, of course, also in the new Celebration behind-the-scenes trailer. Two Imperial officers at a console looking very uncomfortable. Krennic with his head down, standing in front of Death Star materials like the last trailer. Desert-type planet Jeddah, and this is some sort of mecca for people who still believe in the Force. A ship lands with four wings that unfold, kind of remind me of the Kylo Ren ship. There are buildings to the left while a Star Destroyer looms above. Poe opens his mouth to the camera during action. The four-winged ship explodes near the ground. We've heard about this from behind-the-scenes footage and from all the leaked stuff that people put on the internet from the set. So, it's very cool to see that made it into the trailer. Rebels, similar to the Endor soldier, duck from the blast. Krennic walking in the puddle with his white cape. This guy, this shot is super awesome. It was in the first trailer as well. Jyn and Cassian in disguise running down a dark hallway. Cloaked figure kneeling before the illuminated tube or tank. And this was, of course, the probably Sith Lord that was still unnamed for us. And what's happening here? Stormtroopers running down hallway of the train station set. Old shot. So this was actually quite funny. Gareth Edwards actually talks about this set, which was just a train station in London, and they just shot Star Wars there. And they did it at like 4 in the evening, and they just made it work. Baze running towards the camera with the gun he held in the last trailer. Over-the-shoulder shot of Jyn turning around with stormtroopers in front of her. Cassian running towards ramp under fire. Shot of death troopers. Close-up of Chirrut with water in the foreground. Chirrut using a stick on a dumb stormtrooper. You know, this is what we saw, of course, in the celebration behind the scenes too, and it looks quite humorous, actually. Pretty cool. Star Destroyer in front of the Death Star. Death Star laser dish being put into the Death Star orb, like the last trailer. The very cool shot where the Death Star is finally getting armed. And now, this is where it comes, you know. We hear the breathing. And we see some red panels from the Death Star screens with the reflection of Darth Vader. That's where it ends. Rogue One, December. So, this trailer ultimately sounded like, you know, it was about a handful of new images, a lot of old images that we've already seen in the last trailer. But this movie is coming out pretty soon, so I'm very curious to see, you know, when will we get the big story trailer? When will that happen? So I'm extremely excited for Rogue One because it's going to be a Star Wars movie in sort of a different coat. And, you know, the franchise kind of needed that after The Force Awakens, which a lot of people criticized for being a little too much like A New Hope. So I hope with this movie they will turn to the fans and say, hey, look, we can do this gritty, you know, dark, soldiers on the ground, you know, movie for Star Wars fans that you've always wanted to see. We don't have to stick to the Skywalker formula or anything. We can do this, we can do it well, and it still looks very gritty, even though, you know, there were these talks about reshoots and things are kind of, you know, a lot more humorous, but apart from all the information that we got, we can't say otherwise. It looks very gritty and awesome. So yeah, I can't wait. Hope to see a story trailer very soon. And for all the information on Rogue One, a Star Wars story, just subscribe to Blocked Content because we'll be on top of everything Star Wars. See ya.